Right. Our next speaker is Jan Hildebrand. Jan has been the head of the Department of Environmental Psychology at IZES since 2016. Before that, Jan was team leader of the Environmental Psychology Research Group at the University of Ireland. Jan's research interests include the acceptance of new renewable technologies and renewable energy infrastructure, conflicts and stakeholder perspectives in the energy sector, as well as the public participation processes and their psychological dimensions. He is currently coordinating the research on public acceptance of P2X technologies within the flagship Copernicus P2X. This is one of the best things, folks, looking at our webinar series. We've all talked about technology over the last number of webinars. The implementation is now how the public get engaged. Jan, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, exactly as announced, I would like now to complement the technical perspective of the previous speakers. And I'm happy to give a short overview about the field of acceptance research. And maybe as Paul also already mentioned, I think public acceptance is at least one of the most central and relevant factors for a successful energy transition. And this has been shown also in the last decade in the field of renewable energies. If you think about the protests or public opposition against the wind turbines, or in the field of grid extension about transmission lines. And we think this counts also for the shift to a hydrogen infrastructure. And thinking about society or about the integration of technological development into this society, it is important to stress that society, of course, is not a homogeneous group, but a complex system of different stakeholders, different institutions and levels. And of course, those connected to those stakeholders, we have different perspectives, interests, sometimes competing interests, leading to conflicts in the energy system. And yeah, we think it is needed and relevant to think, if possible, proactively right from the beginning, how to integrate, how to embed technological innovation in the surrounding social system. And you can see in the figure, in a simplified way, different levels which we have in society. And to understand public perceptions on hydrogen, it's also necessary to see or to be aware of the context. And there's right now a lot of different discourses going on, like on the EU level, the Green Deal. We have let's say different energy transitions in the different member states. We have for Germany, for instance, a large national hydrogen strategy, and on the other hand, we have evolving public discourses. When we zoom into the mobility sector, I think it's quite salient the debate, let's say, about what will be the direction of the future mobility. Is it more e-mobility, or is it, for instance, hydrogen, or is it something else? And talking about acceptance, it's also important not to focus on the public acceptance in the sense of this is somehow the society, or this is the end user who has to accept at the end. Of course, these are important stakeholders, but for a energy or for a large transition as a societal task, it's necessary that we have acceptance at all levels of society, and this includes, of course, the different political levels, economy, industry, regulators, and so on. And you can see also in the figure the central role of the media, and also groups like intermediaries or multiplicators and communication. These are relevant groups or relevant levels if we want to understand public perceptions. Following this understanding and looking from the perspective of acceptance research, we can distinguish two main parts of, or two main acceptance dimensions. On the one hand, we have the technology acceptance, which is connected to all the technological infrastructure for energy production and for the conversion, like electrolyzers. And there we have, over the last years, there was a lot of research going on, and we collected lots of experience. What are the main acceptance factors? leading to support or leading to public position. I mentioned already the wind turbines or the power lines, and we know about landscape changes, we know about land use conflicts, about risk perception connected to the different technologies, of course, cost-benefit ratios, and also the fairness of planning and permitting processes. And this is more, not only, but of course more, because connected also not only to the technology, but also to the site, which means we have always a place relation where the respective technology is located. So the acceptance, in the sense of who is accepting what, is located on the local level. So we are talking about residents or municipalities or regions. Whereas when we're looking to the utilization of the products of the different sectors, that's not only mobility but also industry or the chemical sector. Here we are on a different levels, because we're looking with the eye of a consumer, and we are talking about behavioral decisions. So and this might be different from strategic decisions. A big company who has decided, if we like steel industry or glass industry, if it wants to change the production and to use hydrogen. Of course, this is a strategic long-term decision. When we're looking at the mobility sector, or also in the chemical sector with the consumer perspective, we have also day-to-day decisions. And here we observe that some main impacts, or some main factors for those decisions are the expected ecological impacts, of course, the costs, and also the knowledge or the beliefs about what it is connected with the respective product compared to the existing alternative. There are, I said we have more than 20 years of acceptance research in the field of renewables. So corresponding, there are a lot of different acceptance models existing. And I thought it's maybe not that much interesting to show all those different scientific models, but maybe just to sum up, maybe the main 4 factors which are relevant, or which are maybe the most relevant. And the first is orientation and insight, which means, very simplified, people need to understand the necessity of a political decision or the background of a technical infrastructure, like in this example, hydrogen. And the base for understanding and thinking that it makes sense is, of course, information, which needs to be transparent and in a way that all the pros and cons, and of course, I mentioned the e-mobility discussion, e-mobility versus hydrogen, pros and cons and potential alternatives. And in this connection, it's very important that the question who is informing, who provides information, that means the source of information, and the connected trust, or the attributions, what we are thinking is the purpose of this institution who provides information. And I come later to the special role of trust, but we see that it is an important factor, and maybe a very prominent example. You all know that, of course, when we talk about insight as a base, of course, there are lots of people in this world who are doubting climate change at all, or at least to say, well, in energy transition, we doubt that renewable energies are the right way, but we think more about the way of nuclear power. So orientation and insight as a base. And then, of course, when thinking about which alternative is the way to choose, then there should be a positive risk-benefit balance. That means that all in all, of course, the alternative chosen should be more beneficial. And this is not only meant in a monetary and a financial way, but also, I mentioned, the landscape changes in an immaterial way. Regarding the risks, I would like to say that, or to add that the as far as I see the studies which are available in our own research, that the risk assessment is not the main factor in hydrogen or in the public acceptance towards hydrogen. Besides some media reports, and you all remember the hazard in Norway, I think 2 years ago. But we see that other factors are more relevant, and I come to them later. So self-efficacy is a very important factor for public acceptance, which means that people feel or experience that they have an impact on decisions, that they are an influence of an outcome. And if we reflect that the energy transition means a very big change, not only for the energy infrastructure, but literally in the landscape and change and in the daily living environment, people would like to have control and to be involved in a way. And in this respect, we see that processes where people are involved, they are more likely to accept the process and also the outcome. And this leads to the other point. There's also, or this leads also to a higher identification with the result, and maybe even then in the field of renewable energies, or in the field of energy infrastructure, to a higher identification with the plant itself, so that, for instance, the wind turbine or the PV system is integrated in the respective place identity and the place attachment, that there's an emotional bond. And people say, yeah, this belongs to our hometown. This is run maybe by a local energy cooperative. So these 2 points here, these two factors, self-efficacy and identity, are strongly interconnected, and also are highly interconnected with the area of participation and the feeling of having or being part of a just transition. And I think, of course, every transition, looking from a societal point of view, should have the aim to be a just transition. And we distinguish between 3 different levels of justice. Procedural justice refers to the experienced or subjectively perceived fairness of a process, on a decision-making process, and on a planning or permitting process. 2 main criteria are transparency and the possibility to get involved. The distributional justice refers to the fair distribution of advantages and benefits, or costs and benefits. And as I said, not only in a financial or material way, but also in an immaterial way. And the interpersonal justice refers to the relationship between different persons and institutions, and is strongly influenced by the perception of trust. And here again, I would like to stress, and especially in a way of uncertain or complex discussions about a new, innovative process. I think, Paul, you called it the energy revolution. So people need, or are seeking for orientation. And when private companies which have the aim, of course, which is legitimate, to make a financial profit, they are not seen as independent or as neutral. And so here we can see the important role of science, providing neutral and transparent information to provide the base for the public to decide and to evaluate which from the different alternatives which are available is, from their perspective, the best. And of course, we are talking about in this connection also about communication, and there's no one-size-fits-all strategy, but it has to be adjusted to the respective needs of the respective target audience. And when we are looking at the current debates and public discourses we have in Germany, but also in Europe, about hydrogen or the general power to X strategies, we observe a high level of uncertainty, especially regarding the available quantities. So which dimensions we have, which is the power, especially the renewable power potential, at which time. So is it 2030, is it 2040, and which are the alternatives? And in this respect, it's different, or the research projects which are currently running, providing knowledge and providing information, play a relevant role. And I would like also not only, or I would like to pay a special attention to a certain level of transition. I mentioned that the transition as a societal task requires an active role of all levels of society, but I would like to pay a special attention to the level of municipalities and regions, because we see also coming from the renewable sector that here the changes become most visible. And also we see that we have many municipalities very active and very creative mayors or public authorities who want to be an active part, who want to play an active role in this transition. And but we also see that they need more resources, that we need capacity building on this level, that they are able to enable them to play this role and to fulfill this to play this important part in energy transition. And we have lots of very good examples from the renewable sector, like the 100% renewable energy regions, sustainable energy communities, zero emission communities, of course, different energy cooperatives using different planning tools like heating or potentials map, calculators for regional value added, which enable political or public authorities on the local level to make the right decisions and to plan in a sustainable way the future. And we think that this should be what I mentioned already. This should be proactively taken into account, and also in the shift now towards the hydrogen energy system, to learn from the fields like the renewables, where we have lots of good experiences, and to integrate this knowledge right from the beginning. So looking at the time, I would like to conclude with my outlook. So we see at the moment, thinking about public acceptance and public perceptions, of course, some challenges and uncertainties which are in the diverse public discourses. Of course, we also see a lot of chances connected to the hydrogen applications. I think what is important to say that there are lots of different factors, and of course they depend a bit on the respective stakeholders, and if we are talking about technology acceptance or consumer acceptance. But I think it's important to say that the risk perception is not the main factor, despite the fact that it's often discussed in the media, but it's not in an empiric, can't be shown in the empirical way. I think one of the main point is the expected ecological impact, and also maybe the promise which should be kept. So it's the green hydrogen what makes the difference, not the other colors Paul showed in his introduction. The rainbow, I think it was 6 different colors of hydrogen, which is also connected with maybe a bit confusion in the public discourse. But the main promise is the green hydrogen. I think this should be kept, because this is one of the main factors for public acceptance, because this makes difference to fossil alternatives, for example. What should be solved, and I think where science has to play his or her part, is to provide information about the allocation to relevant sectors. If we have only a reduced potential, then we should decide in which sectors it should be allocated, where it has the most impact, and the same for availabilities and quantities. So when is how much available, and of course where is it produced and how it is transported. And I think public dialogue as well as public participation measures, on different levels, which means we need national dialogues, but also then on the regional level and the level of municipalities should be proactively undertaken, and also in participation in terms of planning, but also financial, so for economical benefits. And as I said, I repeat myself, but I think it's really important to have a comprehensive and holistic way, and to understand energy transition as a task and also as a chance for the whole society. And by this means to think in a social, technical way, addressing technology and also the surrounding social system. Thank you for your attention.